Bible. I looked at that clip and jumped out. I'm telling you, wrong part of me. Ooh, yeah.
I can't figure out my buttons. All right, what is up, guys? How y'all doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
I couldn't find the pause button and all that stuff, so I'm like, oh, I got too many electronics going on. Well, cool, guys. Hey, I appreciate it. We're going to do a little coaching session today, as we do each and every week, just to keep bettering your lives as well. So thanks for going live on YouTube today. What we want to dig in, I'm joined today, Yusra and Rami, two great agents here in the state of Indiana that are really up and coming and really just developing themselves and their brand in the real estate world. So they are part of eXp Realty, and I am one of their mentors. It is fabulous. So quick shout out to you guys. Say hi, you guys.
Hey.
Awesome. So, well, let's dive into it. Let's get get you guys doing what we've done for weeks here. Let's start with a little role play. Either one of you, what are some of the hangups? What are some of the issues you faced in the last couple of weeks? Whether it's on the phone, in person, whatever.
So I actually brought up something with you, Jason, early, and I've kind of been trying different methods to go around that. And that's kind of when, the name on RedX isn't exactly the right name, and it kind of throws them off, and you have to move past that and everything. So you actually recommended that I try it without names. So just get into the call. Don't necessarily say like, oh, hey, Mrs. Johnson, or hey, Mr. Johnson. Just get right into it. And I think that's been a lot more helpful, because I'm not as worried or hung up about whether the name is right or not.
Yeah, good. And I've been changing it up as well, and I agree. And I just kind of lead right in. And I actually just made some calls today, and same thing. I just led right in. Hey, I know you're the, I know you have that property on 123 Main Street. I'm just curious, what happened? And they're like, oh, I used to own it, 3 years ago, and then somebody bought it from me. All right, cool. Now I know you marked your documents as such. So, but you can still lead in. So good. So good deal. Rami, how about you? Any hangups, issues?
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask about something very similar to that. Could I hear the two of you just at least the very intro to a call like that without using the name?
I'd like to hear you two.
All right. Perfect.
All right. Good.
Rami, you want to play agent, or you want to play buyer, seller?
I think I'd want to be the seller of a property. And then do we want to do expires or geo leads?
We can do expired for this situation. How do you feel about that?
Let's do that.
All right, sounds good. All right.
Hello?
Hi. Hi. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time. My name's Yusra. I was actually just looking at properties in your area, and I noticed your property. So I was kind of just curious as to what happened to that.
We took it off the market.
Oh, you guys took it off the market? Can I ask what you guys are planning on doing with it if you guys were able to sell that?
We were planning to sell it, but then we decided that, we want to hold off a couple months before we do that and just keep it for a little bit.
I understand. So if you guys had sold it, what would be the next step for you guys?
We were considering moving to a little bit down south to Indianapolis, but we heard that all the houses are up in price right now, and everything just seems so expensive.
That's the thing about the housing market, is the price of your house is always going to appreciate. It's always a good investment. So let me ask you, if you guys did have a buyer today, would you guys be ready to move into the house, or to sell your house and move in?
I mean, if the offer was good enough, then potentially we would consider it.
In that case, let's just get right through it. I'd love to walk through your house, kind of look at it. I might have a couple of buyers that are interested in that property in that area. Would this evening be a good time for me to come by?
Yeah, I should be free around 4 p.m.
4 p.m.? I can be there then, sir, and I'll walk through and I'll see. I might have a couple of buyers interested for you. So in that case, I'll see you soon, sir.
All right, see you then.
I'll see you then. Bye.
Cool. First thing, I love that you guys both use the phone on there. I think that's hilarious.
I realized halfway through, I was like, why am I still holding this?
My hand started to get tired.
That was awesome. So hilarious there. So I love it. You guys just be you, and that's what I appreciate about you guys. So whatever's comfortable, that's what works. Especially with role play. You know, I sit there and I kind of space off into the wall and just I envision that I'm talking to somebody. So if that helps you, do it. That's what it's all about. So good. So how'd that feel for you guys?
I think it felt pretty well. I think there was a couple of my questions I asked that kind of were not worded correctly or kind of doing a little bit of confusion, but I went back and kind of fixed that.
Yeah, I think that it was a pretty smooth phone call. I thought it was like you had good responses to the things that I said to you. The only thing that I was wondering was like towards the end of the call when you agreed to, walk through my house, you still wouldn't know my name. So like, what is the solution to that? When you show up and you still don't know my name, would that cause any type of awkwardness? And that's just what I wasn't sure about.
Good question. So a couple things. Say, hey, I just want to confirm the address, 123 Main Street in Indianapolis, wherever. Then with our MLS, we have that Real List button, and you can go to Real List and you can put the address in, and now you should be able to get their names. However, some people do put LLC names, or they might use abbreviations, or they just might be hard to pronounce sometimes. So keep that in the back of your head. So you may just say, hey, I do appreciate it. Can you remind me, what your name is, or, something that works for you. I've done it. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but I laugh about it when I say it. Say, hey, I know I just cold called you, but I just wanted to make sure I had your name when I meet you, so you know me. Something like that, where you're laughing about it. It's like, oh, I don't know you either. So, does that help? Does that help any?
It does. And that actually reminds me of another role play question that I had, which was, I was talking to someone the other day, and they were saying that they had a good friend who was looking to list their properties in a couple months. And so I told them, yeah, please do send them my contact information. At the end of I mentioned to the client on the other end that, hey, I know sometimes we forget things, numbers get lost. So if you give me her number, I can just go ahead and reach out and take that trouble off of her. And then she was like, oh, I'm not sure she would be comfortable with me just giving you her phone number. So is there anything to do about that, or is it just,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have guards up and they respect their friends and their family, and I respect that. It's hard to say, yeah, give me their number. Good job going for it. What I do a lot on my cell phone. I text people my business card. So go for that like you did. And if you get it, great. If they say no, say, hey, I respect that. Let me do this. Let me text you my business card. Can you forward that to your friend today? And then they'll say, okay, yeah, I could do that. Awesome. Thanks. I'll follow up with you in a week and just make sure that your friend, if they have any questions or whatever time frame, I'll just follow up in X amount of days and see if your friend has some conversations or questions and what I could do to help. Does that sound like a plan? Boom. Good.
That makes sense. Yep.
Cool. One thing Rami said in that role play that caught my ear, he said, if the price was good enough, I would sell. And that's what I would hone in on, being the agent calling Rami. I'd be like, good enough. What is that? What does that mean? Can you help me understand that? Because if his house is valued at $200K and he says $500K, again, I know that I need to bring him down a little bit. But if he says, 205, 210, cool, we're going to have a realistic conversation. Say, all right, cool, we'll just talk that. I was just curious, But yeah, that one triggered in my mind as soon as he said, good enough. Tell me more about that. Can you help me understand? What do you mean by good enough? Because to me, good enough's different to what you guys think good enough is, could be different, So yeah.
With
Little
a situation like this, when you're going into that person's house at 4, would you bring the listing agreement with you?
Great. All right. Well, and that's one of our topics today. So great transition. So let's just dive into that then. So thank you, Yusra, for that little piece. I did have the listings later on in the show, but that's okay.
Sorry, just jumped the gun a little bit.
You're wonderful. No, it's a great transition. So for a listing appointment, yeah. So you got it. You nailed it. One, you always want to bring value. What are you going to do to make it good? You asked about bringing the listing contract. I bring all the listing paperwork. My goal is to get them to sign that day. There's certain pieces of the listing agreement, and we'll be able to go over that more in detail with you guys personally. But you could put it TBD, to be determined, and just give different numbers in there and have it make sense. So that's always number one. All your listing docs. Excuse me. Then I also do comparables. So that's why you do want to verify the address with that, because if it's 123 Main Street, maybe they own 5 different properties, and you look them up and you're like, oh no, there's 5 different properties, which cool. Maybe they want to do some business. Yay. But you don't know where you're going right now. So you're going 123 Main Street, you get the information. Cool. Now you're going to pull comparables. I always go off of our MLS as well to what comparables are selling in the last 3 to 6 months. All right. Very similar to what an appraiser will do. I try to keep right around the square footage, as well as room sizes, not room sizes, but room amounts, 3-4 bedrooms, 2.5 bath. Things like that. If it has a basement, you could kind of add and subtract a little bit. If it has a pool, you could add and subtract a little bit. But yeah, we could dive into the comps in a little bit too. But that's one of the steps. So let me go ahead and backtrack and just go to, all right, I got the listing appointment. I've got my listing paperwork and I've got my comparables. I'll also have in my packet a net sheet, because we're going to get into that in a minute. Okay. So those are usually the big 3 that I have. And then just some documentation to bring value of what's going on in today's market. How I market your house to net you the most amount of money, what I can do for you. All right. That's the packet. Now I go to the house, knock on the door. They come to the door. I go ahead and say, hey, how's it going? Talk to them for a couple minutes. Can you show me the house? Boom. And now we just start walking around the house. Give me a tour. Is this what I want? So they walk around the house, show me, oh, hey, we're going to do this. If let me grab my folder here. So I have these manila folders. So when I am on a listing, I go ahead, I write the person's name on the top and the address. I've got their phone number. I've got all their information handy there. And then while I'm walking around the house, I'm taking notes on here. So they say, oh, we're going to paint the family room. All right, paint the family room. All right, what color are you planning to paint the family room? I think we're going to go green. I don't recommend you go green. All right, I think we should do gray is what's in right now. We always say use agreeable gray is the name that you can find at most paint stores, and get them to do that. So now I'm making notes, and I'm also making a to-do list so I remember what our conversation was when I'm with the client. Okay? Just go through, keep making your notes. Oh, we're going to do X, Y, Z. All right, cool. Good. Walk through the house, say, great. While we're walking through the house, I'm asking questions. So, how much do you owe on the house is one of the biggest questions I want to know, because we're going to use that on the net sheet. If they owe, $200,000 and you're going to list it for $150,000, well, they're not going to be happy about that. So we want it to make sense. Let's see where we're at. Ask what they owe. And then say, all right, you're walking around, you're done. Hey, let's go sit down and let's look at some of the comparables is how I lead up the next step. All right. So tour is number one. Comparables is number two. Walk through the or sit down, open up your folder. In my packet, I'll have all the information in there, the comparables. Listing docs I put last. This is a little out of order, but because this is an old one, but I put them in there. All right. With our MLS, you could pull just regular comps. I pull up this first. This just shows them in numbers. All right. So that way you can kind of go over. And what I like is the bottom line. It shows like the median pricing. You've got a 302 price tag around there. So that's what I'm going off of there. And then when I do the comparables themselves, I'm doing ones with pictures, full pictures. Okay. So that way they can compare their current house to one that's either pending or sold on the market and how this one's looking. If it's pending, then you got to see when it's going to close and see if it will be a comparable by the time you guys close. Because if one's pending, but it's not going to close till August, it's June 10th today. If it's not going to close till August and you're going to plan on listing it this weekend, you'll probably close in 30 days in this market. You know what I'm saying? So keep it smart and say, all right, well, if that's the fact, that this house that is pending is not going to be a comparable. It has to close to be an appraiser approved comparable. Okay. So keep that in mind. But then I'm breaking them down, saying, all right, hey, here's this one sold for 30 or listed at 298.5, sold for 306.5. Cool, right? That's awesome. Over list price. And so how I organize these, I put the one that I think their house looks like the best is the last. So that way I'm showing them all these other ones. Okay, they're like, oh, that one doesn't look like ours. Oh, that one's similar but very dirty. Oh, that one's really upgraded. All right, cool. How about this last one? Yeah, that looks pretty good. That one's pretty solid. Yeah, I agree. All right, so now you already know that, hey, I'm going to that last one, and we have that comparable there. So I show them this, and now I'm like, all right, so you saw what these sold for. What do you think you could sell it for? And wait, let them bring up a number. Based on those and seeing what's up, I think we could get 320 for it. Mm-hmm. All right, good. I think that's a reasonable number. That's great. I think that's great. So usually, and I go right into it. Usually, when I list it, I want to be smart and strategic, especially in this market. We want to price it accordingly, so then buyers can mark it up because that's what's happening in today's market. And then, my job is to drive as much traffic through this house. So I want to get an open house for you. I'm going to do a lot of social media marketing because that's what's hot in today's market right now is that marketing. And so that's where I'm going to put my dollars towards to really get your house out there and alerted. So if we do it at 319.9 is always how I like to do it, just shy of that 320. Are you okay with that? And they say, yeah, I'm good with that. All right, cool. Let me put together, let me show you a net sheet because probably somewhere in that conversation, they're going to ask, what do you charge? That's on their mind all the time. And they might even do it on the phone. So always be ready for that, especially when you're calling people. Well, what do you charge? Well, I'd love to show you what I can do and break that down for you a little bit more. And that's why I was talking to you about that complimentary consultation. Because I could take 30 minutes, check out your home so I really understand what your home is looking like and what it could sell for. And then with that, I could give you a great number of what you can net. Would that work for you? And then they're like, all right, cool. Yeah, that works out great. Awesome. All right, cool. So let me go ahead. I'm going to put together this net sheet. If you could do a favor for me, while I'm putting this net sheet together, I've got just a utility information sheet. If you could just start writing those down, that would be great. And if you know averages, good. This keeps them busy while you're doing your work. Okay, now you're getting some information on utilities. If they finish before you, I'll have the seller's disclosure and I'll have them start filling that out too. Say here, just go ahead and start filling this out. And then, yeah. So then this is a net sheet and we'll make sure you guys get all these documents too. So what I like about it, it just breaks it all down. Once we're to this part 2, guys, I'll go over to it. I've got some that are typed up in here. On that first line, you see 800, then down on whatever line that is, 67, 125, 25, 50, 75. Those are from the title company, these 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those are always going to be, I don't know where my finger is here. Sorry. It is that mirror is throwing me off there. So these 4 are going to be automatic pricings. Okay. And then I'm going to fill in the rest. So title insurance, 800, payoff of first mortgage. That's why I asked, what do you owe on the house? Okay. We owe 150. All right, great. We're going to sell it for 319.9. All right. So I'm going to put 150 in that. Taxes you could assume, and I break it down on that second line, or whatever line that is, taxes. So I just do rough numbers. This one was $2,800 for the year. I looked it up before I went to the house, and then I averaged it to $7.67 a day. So one of my questions, when do you want to list it? Not till August 1st. Okay, tell me more. Why do you want to wait till August 1st? Well, we need time to paint, and that's about it. All right, maybe go into the market. It may not be as hot in August. It might be better to bump it up if you can. Let's go with August 1st, but I'm going to run those numbers accordingly. So you listed it August 1st. Let's say we close in 45 days. I'm going to I play numbers a little bit more. So I'm going to work those taxes to say the seller is going to pay from January 1st, 2021 to September 15th when we close. And then that's when I'm counting the days, and I just multiply $7.67 by the number of days to when they close for the year. Again, rough numbers. So I put that over there. Broker's commission. So here's where it breaks down. So yeah, you've got EXP broker commissions and buyer broker commissions. So I let them know, and I do mine a little differently. I'm kind of telling them, hey, this is the value I bring. I'll bring it, here's what I could do for 7% and blah, blah, blah. I tell them what's up, make it happen. Now this market's aggressive. I give them different options to say, hey, I'm not stuck on 7%. I'm not going to talk them out of it, but my goal is to do it for the best I can. For you guys being newer, I would say like a 6%, would be great. And then as your skill levels increase, then increase your amount. You deserve it, So, and plus that's going to go into marketing and your bottom dollar. So, those are other goals that you guys will want to obtain. So I write those numbers down, and then so if they do say, let's say 6%, so 3% seller side, 3% buyer side. All right, write those numbers down. Got that. And then we've got negotiable items on the bottom. And those are things coming from a buyer's agent perspective. Rami, you asked me earlier, going through that buying process, you understand what's up. So when you write an offer, you see these things. So we have closing fee. It's roughly $400. So I'll put like $200 that the seller would pay for. And these are all estimated. And it's fluff on a net sheet because in this market, they're really not being paid. So you could use that to your advantage. So just be smart, So that's why we'll walk through it when you guys are in that moment to say, hey, I'm ready to do a net sheet and this, that. We'll go through it a little bit more. This is just a great introduction. Repairs. Hey, do you guys want to have a pre-home inspection? That's a huge piece, you guys. So that's something that I highly recommend, even in this market, to do a pre-home inspection. Not all sellers want to do it, but it gives them a heads up of what is a major defect, and then they could get it fixed before it goes on the market. So it's a huge, huge reward, and it could save them a lot of money. If not, they may have to pay $2,000 to $3,000 in repairs. I'll write that down right there. Closing costs. Some buyers have asked for seller paid closing costs, not necessarily in this market, but they have in the past. So we need to budget accordingly. $2,000, whatever. Home warranty, same thing. Not in this market right now, but buyers have asked the seller to pay for the home warranty, $600. I write it down there. All right. So then I'm going to go ahead and tally it all up, and then I show them with my fees in there, their bottom line dollar. So if we sell it for X amount of dollar, this is their bottom line dollar. This guy's making $8,300. We went a little higher, but so, $8,300. He told me before in one of our conversations that he just wants to break even. He didn't care. So I just made him $8,000 on paper, and that's with all my fees. All right. So when they're asking about a number, because you come out and you tell them 7%, 6%, 6.5%, they get sticker shock, and they're like, "Oh man, I don't want to do that." So now I just showed you what money you're going to make, and I'm going to make my money, and I'm going to do a great job. I'm going to market your home. I'm going to do everything I can to promote the heck out of your house. I'm going to do my job. I'm just not going to stick a sign in the yard and be like, "Oh, please, somebody show up. Please. Oh, I hope so." Not going to do that. I'm going to call agents. I'm going to blast it in the email, whatever I have to do, social media, videos, all that stuff. So that comes with the territory. Mm-hmm. So boom, there they go. And I ask them, so how do you feel about that number? That sounds pretty good. Cool. Let's move on. So if you guys, so what I lead to, then I have the listing document. So if you're comfortable with all those numbers, here's the listing contract. We could go ahead and get this under wraps, and then that gets me started, that I could start putting paperwork together, not only for my company, but I could get it ready in the MLS. I use those things. All right. Those are true statements, because we do need these documents to get for our company. We do need these documents to get information to the MLS. And with the MLS, I think you have like a month ahead of schedule that you could, before it goes live, to put it in there. It doesn't save so everybody sees it. You save it secretly, but that's awesome. So use the time. And so that way, cool, all my paperwork is done. And if they give you pushback, "Oh, we're not ready just yet," say, "All right, well, just curious, where's your mind? Help me understand where you're at." And keep that friend. But yeah, just do a wet signature right there. And yeah, break it all down. That's the listing agreement. And so that's that. Mm-hmm. Questions?
No, I think that breaks it down like a lot easier. Like you kind of know the documents that you're gonna need to prepare if you have something like this come up. Like get everything from Realist, like comparables, then the seller net sheet, get them busy. It was very smart that you said like get them to fill stuff out while you're filling out that net sheet. I hadn't thought about that. That'll keep them from like being bored or asking you questions, and I'll get them to do something too.
It is, because with those numbers, you want them to make sense and you want to be accurate for the most part. And so, yeah, I've been there. I learned from experience.
Awesome. For me, I have one or two questions. And I guess the first question would be that I would like to just run through some of the responses that you would give them for some questions that they have.
Okay.
And then for number two, you said that if there's something to be decided on the listing contract, like let's say they're saying, "Oh, I need to hear back from a job to know exactly when I need to be relocated." Can you write "to be decided" and then add an addendum to update the listing, or how would you go about that?
Yes, absolutely. So let me look at this. So like line 10 on here, you probably can't see it. It says this contract begins on blank and expires on blank. And you could just write on there "to be determined," something like that. Mm. So that way it's all good. And there's also, I think there's another spot to say when it's going to go live or something like that too. So, and you could put the "to be determined."
That makes sense. And you're supposed to get the listing into the MLS within, I believe it's like 48 hours. But if it's not supposed to go onto the market for another 2 months, or you're waiting for something to be determined, how does that work?
So you have their autograph on here. They've signed the paperwork, so that's great. So I believe you have a month to put the paperwork. You could be a month ahead of time to put the paperwork in. The 48 hours that you speak of is for it to go live from when you hit live on the MLS to actually allowing showings. So that's that gap right there. Okay. So you could put the information. So I would check in, weekly, bi-weekly, depending if they're 2 months out, 3 months out, I might check back in a couple weeks. And, and that way I could kind of see where they're at and then check back in another couple weeks. That's twice in 1 month. Now we're about 1 or 2 months closer to when they think they're going to list. And then you could always visit a house after that second phone call, say, hey, why don't I come by in a, next couple of weeks and just kind of check in on your progress. Is that cool? And then that way they kind of feel a little antsy. Oh man, we need to make it look pretty. And maybe that bumps it up a little bit.
That makes sense.
Okay.
And so with some of the responses that you give to after you go through the house, the walkthrough, you hear from them, you ask some questions, and you sit down with them. Can you respond how you would respond to a seller when they ask you, so Jason, tell me about the value that you bring to this house, to listing this house?
Absolutely. I'll be happy to. And yeah, once we go ahead and sit down, I've got a whole packet right here. I'm going to go through it all for you, and I'm going to have it make simple sense. All right.
Mm-hmm. So what can you do for me that another agent wouldn't be able to do for me?
Tons.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's it. That's all I would say. I would literally say that I could do tons, and then I'd go quiet, and then they'd say, "Oh, well, like what?" Say, "Listen, I understand. Hey, I want to do the best job for you, and my goal is to work hard for you, and I do work hard because I take care of my family, and that's number one for me." So that's going to be that key point. But again, when we sit down, you'll see the value. I'm going to show you. Again, I've got this packet. I've got a folder I'm going to leave with you. I'm going to give you all this stuff just so you can be aware of, making sure you're getting the best value out there. For sure. I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
So I have a quick question. So let's say that you're going through like the listing and they tell you that they don't want to sell their house until they know for a fact they can buy a house, right? Are you able to like fill out a listing agreement with like a contingency on them finding a house to buy?
Maybe. I have the hard conversation. If you sell this house, do you have somebody to live with, or is short-term living a possibility for you? I'm having those conversations because it saves you a lot of headache. I was always trained not to do something like that, to say, oh, it's contingent on them finding something. That's just aggravating. Then, because what that could lead to, say you get a buyer that says, all right, cool, it's June 10th today. All right, we're under contract today and we're going to close by July 1st. Okay. You need to find, or no, sorry, no close date, because you need that time to find a house. All right, it's now mid-July and we still don't have a close date. And I could be like, man, there's this other house that's really cool. I'm going to get out of this house and I'm going to go buy that one. And now you just lost that buyer. And now you've got a lot of scrambling to do as an agent to help your seller because they're trying to buy something. It's just hard. Yeah. I'd eliminate the headache personally and have that conversation ahead of time. Can you do short-term live? Can you live with somebody for the time being? What can you do if we sold it today? Because my job's to get it sold for you, and I'm going to get it sold for you. So
That makes sense. Yeah.
You could think differently too if they have a house, like if it's a new construction, then you could have a time frame, it's a little bit easier. It's just a challenge in this market to have these guys and gals, selling their house. And that's a big question. Where do we go? Where do we go next? So you got to have those pieces. And if they want to buy a house, then again, I'm having a different conversation too. How about a HELOC? Have you looked into that style of loan? Do you have enough cash to buy a second home on paper? I'm asking those questions too, because that makes it a lot easier, because some people do have great credit and money that on paper they could buy a second home. And people get scared when I say stuff like that, but then I justify it. Say, listen, I know you don't want to own two homes, but in this market, it's a lot easier for it to do this way. So let's go and get you a house to buy, and let's get you hooked up with a local lender first. And that way we could get you moving there. Boom, step one. Then let's get you something to buy. Let's buy it. And then when that's getting ready to, or getting moving, we get this one on the market, and then I'll do the dance to coordinate the closing dates. So you're all good. Cool. So how's that?
No, that makes sense. Yeah. So you kind of just have to kind of play it around earlier on, figure out what's going to work best for them in like the worst case situation.
You do. And I, we've been making a lot of different calls, and like I've told you guys a lot of times, everybody's different, not necessarily people individually. People are different. Don't get me wrong. But each calls you're making are different. Being a buyer's agent is different than being a listing agent. You have to have different conversations. When you're calling expireds, you're having a different conversation. You're not being, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? You're trying to build a relationship, but with like an expired, you're also there to run a business. And when people are working, you're calling them, they want to run a business and they want to make money. So it's a different conversation. It's a little bit more direct. And same with those listings, you got to ask those right questions. And then you got to say, hey, I'm going to sell it. Do you have a place to live? You got to have hard conversations. And that'll transition back into your buyer's agent. So when you are helping buyers, you can find more buyers too, to help them get that home that they deserve by asking them those hard questions in return. It's hard to ask hard questions. It's a lot of practice. I still struggle with it. Some days I'm really good at it. Some days I'm just like, I don't want to face it, But if I don't face it, I don't get paid. My family doesn't get paid. We don't eat. I can't get shoes for the girls, whatever it is. So that pushes me to do it. So find what pushes you, what motivates you to say, what's going to push me to make these or ask these questions? Cool.
No, I think that's been like everything. It seems like even like throughout the week when I don't have motivation, it's like I have to remember why I'm doing this. I have to remember like right now, especially during the summer, I have the opportunity to put in the work that I need to put in. So.
Good. How about you, Rami? Any other questions on listings right now?
I would say the listing walkthrough makes a lot of sense. If you were to take someone to, for example, to meet up at do you ever meet up before the listing presentation, or is that the first point of contact that you have with them? Okay. Yep.
Yeah. That's when I'm going for an appointment and I find out they need to sell, I let them know, hey, I could do a complimentary consultation and I only take 30 minutes of your time. That's it. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. Now, do they last 30 minutes? No, they probably go longer. Why? Because I talk a lot. But I also ask a lot of questions, and so I do try to limit myself, but I do want to get that appointment. So I just say, hey, it is. And it is a goal of mine to keep them under 30 minutes. So, it is what I strive for. It's just a matter of hitting all your points. So that's what I want to do each and every time. And so that's what I'm setting up. And I don't know the value of your house until I see it. And I need to see it. It's my job. If I just meet you, and I know you're meeting somebody too, Rami, if I just meet you, I could build a relationship with said person. I get that and I like that, but it doesn't help me to say, hey, let me give you some actual numbers, because they could say, oh, I have granite countertops and I've got hardwood floors. And then you go in there and it's got laminate floors and Formica countertops. They totally misinformed you. And, where you've got hardwood and granite at high dollar items and you've got lower items. So now you're like, all right, that's why you just want to make sure you see it. And then they're not going to tell you about the green shag carpet in the basement, or that they painted each room purple, because they love purple. They don't tell you about all that stuff. So for a buyer's eyes, they don't really care to have purple in the pictures. They don't want green shag in the pictures. So those are conversations I'm having, saying, hey, you want to declutter. Most everybody always has to declutter. I could declutter in my house right now. It's how we live. We always have stuff. So number one, declutter stuff. 2, you want to paint your houses agreeable gray. Let's get it all on the inside. All right, let's get rid of this purple. Agreeable gray is going to be hot, and it's really going to be much more attractive on the pictures. All right. Then have the conversation. All right, you've got green shag carpet in the basement. What do you think? Can we get that replaced? Because I think that's going to bring you more value if you get rid of that shag and put in something that's a little bit more durable. Maybe that looks a little nicer.
Mm-hmm. All right. So they ask you, hey, Jason, so I want to list my house in a couple of weeks. What do I do between now and then to prepare my house for a listing?
So you want to list it in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
All right. So let me look at my calendar here. Hold on. 2 weeks from today would be the 24th, right? Let's say we're in Fishers. All right. Fishers is a hot area. If you're not familiar with it, great area. So here's what I recommend. You want to put it on the market on the 24th. Great day to do it. Let's shoot for that. So you want to know what you need to do in the meantime? Mm-hmm. All right. So here's where we go. And usually I do a follow-up to-do list when I'm making all my notes on here. After I leave, and that night I'll do an email to-do list, so that way we're all on the same page. All right, to say, hey, paint the walls, replace the shag, declutter, what else? Fix the doorknob that is broken on the back door. What else? Whatever they agree to that I took notes on. This gentleman here had pool issues, so we need to address the pool. You guys might know which one I'm talking about. He had pool issues, so we wanted to get answers before we listed it, because we were going to run into issues if we didn't know. So I had him stop and do some due diligence. This one, when did I meet him? I met him in January is when I talked to it. I just got it listed in May. And we're going to close this month finally. So it's stuff like that, hey, it takes time. Some are ready to go. Now, Rami, you said, hey, what do I need to do to list it in 2 weeks? All right, great. So I need about 5 to 7 days to get it ready to go live. That includes my photographer, and then getting all the documents in line and getting it active for the MLS. Okay, so that's about that 5-7 days. So technically you have about a week to get it done. Can you get everything that we talked about here? Can you get that all done in a week?
I mean, you might need a little bit more time than that.
All right, so you probably need about 2 weeks to get it done, or what time frame works for you?
Yeah, 2 weeks should be fine.
All right, so 2 weeks to get it done. So maybe we should look at it to maybe going live right around the 1st of July. Would that work for you?
Yeah, that should be fine.
All right, cool. Yeah, and we could also kind of overlap, and it's all situational. So if you can paint first, if you could get the paint done in the first week and you want to do some of the exterior next week, then that way I could still organize my photographer to come in maybe about 10 days. And then that way she could start capturing some of the inside pictures and she could get a good front outside. And then that way we could run with those while you finish it up, and then we could get on the market a little bit earlier. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
And now again, you're creating a dance, you know, saying, all right, cool. I've got to get my photographer online. I got to get, you know, let's dance it. So there's that. And then, so, all right. So we're off to the races. All right. So why don't I let you be so you can start working on your projects, and I'll call you next, what is today? Thursday, next Thursday, and see how you're making progress.
Mhm.
Does that work for you?
It does.
Cool. Thank you. All right. And then I'm going to reach out to my photographer and I'm going to be like, hey, tentative appointment for pictures on 123 Main Street he wanted to go live on the 24th, 20th of June here. Are you available? And she says, yes, I'm available. Great. Now I'm giving him, that is the 10th day. So when I call him on the 17th in 1 week, I'll be like, hey, how's things coming, man? Man, I've been having a great week. I've gotten everything done. I just got, you know, I got to fix the doorknob and I'm done. Perfect. Good. Great. That sounds awesome. I'm going to have my photographer there on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Does that work for you? Yes. All right, great. She'll get that. Usually has about a 24-hour turn time to get me the pictures back. And I'm going to go ahead and start working on the documents. And then, yeah, let's go ahead and shoot for the 24th and let's take this baby live. How about that? Cool. Hype it up. All right. So they get excited about it.
Awesome.
Cool. Good stuff. All right. So that went a little longer than I planned, but that's okay. Hopefully you guys got a ton of information on that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome. All right. So, you know, as I've talked to before, and I also wanted to kind of mix this into bringing in those tie downs. Have you guys been able to work with those? I emailed them to you a long time ago. Do you guys use them? Have you practiced them? Did you lose the email? Anything like that, you know, what do you think? Tie downs.
I think I've been seeing myself kind of use them even when I'm talking to like my friends or like making plans or like trying to like, oh, so does that sound good for you? Does that work? Does that work for you? What do you think of that? Like kind of throwing those in too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where it starts. I noticed it a lot with my kids. I did it and it worked. When I did it with the kids, I'm like, hey, you guys want peanut butter jelly? Or yeah, does peanut butter jelly sound good? You know, whatever it was. And yeah, it was awesome. Rami, what about you, man?
No, definitely. With family, with friends, just make it a regular part of speech, and you find that people are agreeing with you about everything.
It is, man. I love it. Well, good. Well, keep practicing to that, and you know, and see. I always kind of watch other people's body language, and you know, if I'm making sense to them. And sometimes if they're kind of like, you know, doing one of those, and say, hey, you know, is this too much? Am I not making sense? You know, where can I help you? You know, because I'm reading them or whatnot. So just stop. Sometimes I gotta stop and hey, I do this every day. So sometimes I take it for granted that my client may have never done this before in their life. So I'm coming up with a lot of energy and a lot of information, and it may be overwhelming. So I do need to stop, pause, and be there for my client. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, cool. So tie down's good. Keep working with them every day. Keep it up. I love hearing it. It's in your daily regimen because that's when it's moving and grooving. Good. Cool. So I talked to you guys too, weekly schedules about taking a day off. Talk to me real fast about your ideal weekly schedule as far as calls and showings and days off and whatever, what's your ideal ideal working schedule? Yusra.
So I took my first official day off on Tuesday, and even then, I think I had a showing in the evening. But it was nice to know that I didn't have anything throughout the morning. I think ideally it's nice to kind of get the Red X calls done, taken care of. Any meetings I have kind of taken care of in the morning, and then I feel like a lot of times showings come up during that day or the night before. So it's nice to have the evenings and know, okay, I can go out in the evening, go see this house, and that. So I think that's what works for me best. And then obviously Sundays are open house days, and try to keep those evenings empty and just that time for the open house.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. That's awesome. And then you said calls in the morning. So what are you blocking time for?
So it's usually around that 10 a.m. to 12, sometimes 1.
Okay. Good. All right, cool. Good. Rami.
Yeah, for me, I've started to think over the past couple of days that I'd really like to create a 4-point system. I saw that video that Ricky Carruth had a podcast with another very successful agent, and he was talking about a 4-point system. So I think for me in the next couple of days, I'd like to develop, a point system where, I know that I can accomplish all 4 things by 1, and then I know by 1 p.m. that I've done all that I needed to do during the day. I found that the day that I've chosen to take off, which was Tuesday, it felt so nice to just not be worried about work and just do the things that I like to do. So I think that's very important. But as I mentioned, I think in the next couple of days, I really would like to create a system that kind of adds some structure to my schedule.
Okay, good. With the point system, so you get points for doing XYZ, or describe that to me?
Yeah, so I mean to recall what I heard in the video, with this agent who was very successful, what he did is he would start his work at 8, and then he had activities that would correlate to different points. For example, signing a listing contract or a buyer's representation is worth 2 points. So all he would have to do is sign 2 contracts a day, and he would be at that 4-point mark. And if he hit that by 9, he would be only finish 1 hour worth of work and he'd be done for the day. Or if he finished that by 1, then it just, as long as he accomplished that. So signing a contract is worth 2 points. Taking a buyer to a showing is worth 1 point. If he took 4 different buyers to a showing, that's worth 4 points. If he met up a client, not at a listing, but at a coffee shop or something like that, just to talk with them and build a relationship, that's worth 0.5 point. And so he had all these different tasks that, depending on how hard they were to achieve and how much value they provided to his company, they would be assigned a point value. And his goal was he hits 4 points a day. And he said that way is always done by 12 or noon. And at that point, he finds himself still working for fun, but he knows that he's done everything that he needs to do to set him up for the rest of the day. Okay.
And you think that point system is a good focus for you?
Yeah, I think if I can make 10 connections a day, for example, that will provide a good consistency for me. And if I get done early, I'll want to work more. But I think that point system, I heard it in this podcast, and it sounded like it would be very beneficial.
Cool. Well, and I'm always an advocate of doing what works for you. I think I remember hearing that podcast too. I'm not big on the point system. I'm just going to be transparent. It's not my thing. And, but that's why I asked, hey, does that work for you? If that's good, then that's why I did want to understand it, because I was trained differently, and hey, you can do this business in a bunch of numerous ways. And so that's why I applaud it. So go for it. My 2 cents is I would reach out to Ricky Carruth. If you don't have that other name, agent's name, I'd reach out to Ricky and say, hey, you did a podcast with a guy who did or a gal, whoever, did a point system. What was that agent's name? I would love to get it introduced to them, or blah, blah, blah. I want to recreate that point system. I don't suggest going out there and recreating the wheel. All right. Obviously you heard it. Obviously it's out there. Cool. Take his idea and morph it into yours. Now you've eliminated a lot of beginning stages of stuff to say, oh, all right, cool. He could say, just like you said, you broke it down well, 0.5 point for this, 1 for this, 2 for this, 3 for that. Cool. Write it all down. Got it. Or just have him email it to you. Now you don't even have to write anything down. Cool. And now you're like, oh man, he's doing I don't even know. Oh, for sale by owners. Maybe you don't want to do those yet. Or you give yourself 10 points for sale by owners. So when you do it, cool, I did it. I get 10 points. Yeah. So different ways to do it, but I would definitely reach out to Ricky on that. And I've had great success on Instagram reaching out to Ricky, and he responds immediately. So FYI. He's great. He's here to help us all, man. He's a great guy. So
he is.
So cool. How are you feeling with Red X calls, all that stuff, Rami?
So I'm feeling good about it. I feel like it's not that challenging. It's not that difficult. Just getting myself to start is the hardest part. And so I kind of have been focused with the current clients for the past week or so. But I know that, I also need to balance in prospecting, because once the current clients do what they need to do, then I need to find new clients. So there has to be a balance between prospecting, which is getting new clients, new leads into your system, into your database, versus dealing with current clients. And so balancing those two is going to be a focus.
It is. And that's why and very well said. That's why I say working your schedule and time block yourself. It took me a while to understand time blocking and get it. I think you guys grasp it a heck of a lot better than I did when I was in your shoes. But that time block is big. Just like you said, hey, from 10 to 12, maybe 1, just say 10 to 12, I'm making those calls and I am blocking. You stop everything and you are prospecting, because if you're not doing that, you will have zero business come October, November, December. All right. So get into that habit. And I know, Rami, you mentioned about you like some of the night calls, what have you. Do it to what works for you. Any calls are better than zero calls, 100%. More success is found in morning calls. And that's, again, how I was trained, and the numbers don't lie. And so that's why I stick with that. And then by noon, I could do whatever I want, whether I have to do paperwork, whether I have to go show homes. Because if I'm calling people in the morning, I'm trying to make an appointment. And if I'm making an appointment, let's go tonight. What are you doing? When do you get off work? 4:00? Great. We could be there at 4:30. Does that work for you? Because if I would have scheduled my call session from 3 to 5, and I they texted me, hey, I got this house, I want to go see it tonight at 4:30. Now you've got to shortchange your call session to do the appointment. And that's what you don't, because now you're hurting your future business again. You see that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, because when are you generally making calls right now, Rami?
Same time frame as usual, 10 to 12.
10 to 12. All right, cool. Good. So keep with that, and then just keep that block. So that's boom. And then when people are asking you, ask you this too. If they say, hey, can we get out there at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning to see it? What's your answer?
What's your availability looking like in the afternoon? Personally, I am a little bit booked around that time. If we needed to, I could rearrange some stuff. But what does your availability look, let's say at 12:30 or 1?
Cool. Shorten it up.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I'm coming from experience, brother. So I've learned to shorten stuff up. Go figure. And be direct. You're not hurting anybody. Oh, hey, take that minute. I'm booked at 11 o'clock. How does 12:30 look for you?
Mm-hmm.
Short is the same thing you said, just way short. No fillers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm booked at 11, which you are. You book yourself. And nobody's going to say, oh, what are you booked with? No, it does. It does. So, and they know, hey, I am booked. What can I, does 12:30 work? It's an hour and a half difference. And they say, oh, you know what? I'm going to work at 2. All right, great. Well, walkthroughs are generally 30 minutes anyways. So yeah, does 12:30 work for you? I'll bring some sandwiches. How about that? Whatever. Or I'll bring coffee, whatever they want. I don't know. Have fun with it. But yeah. Is that cool?
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Awesome. So, and then what else? I think that's good. I'm knocking it out. We are catching up. Ideal weekly schedules. All right. So accountabilities. I know we've talked about, hey, staying accountable, adhering to, hey, what kind of calls are we making and whatnot. I get we're being busy. And I see that. So what I wanted to see with you guys is if we do our calls on Monday, that short 10, 15 minutes. And then on Thursdays, we stick to our coaching. And then we just kind of catch up. Like on Monday, we say, all right, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I called however many people, many contacts, all that stuff. Again, holding each other accountable. And that just helps each other grow. And then at the same time, we could alleviate that Wednesday text and Friday text. And we talk on Monday, we meet on Thursday and run our numbers and issues. And of course, you guys know me, I'm always available for you, but we stick to those to keep each other accountable. Is that cool?
Works for me, yeah.
I think so. I think that's a good idea.
I know we're busy, and I want to respect y'all's schedule too, and let you work and live life and do everything you want to do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And crush it. Good. What else, you guys?
No, I think that's all I have for now is that question kind of about listening, and then going to that role play in the beginning was helpful as well.
Good.
Yeah, this was very informative. Really do like the setup that we have for this meeting.
Good, man. I'm glad you guys, did this. I want to show you one thing real fast. Let me see if I can find it. I can't find it, but right on. Any other lessons learned you've had over the last week or two?
I think if I've learned one thing, it's that those calls where like the person is absolutely not down for it are kind of more motivating and entertaining than anything. Kind of where they were discouraging me, but they're kind of fun.
That's awesome. That's what I love to hear, because it is. It's a challenge, and you want to keep it. You want to keep it smart, and I like that because a lot of people do get beat down by calls, and you do have to keep persevering, and and this game's about changing yourself to tweak it to make a connection. So, and I find calls are getting harder right now. It's shifting to almost July now. We're almost midsummer. We're halfway through the year. So people are starting to change their minds about listings and all this stuff. They still know it's a hot market, but you got to really hone in on that craft and keep practicing. And, if you guys aren't doing it with each other, start doing some role plays with each other. And just say, hey, I got this hookup. Call me in, whatever we need to do, or just call me and I'll role play with you. But those things will help make it awesome nonetheless. Keep practicing, because that's what it's all about. But have fun like you're doing. I wanted to show you guys this. I don't know if you saw this on social media. Next Wednesday from 5 to 7, Sugar Creek Winery. Amanda and Rodney are hosting a social network event for real estate agents. So, love for you guys to join us. You think you can make it?
Definitely.
Wednesday at 5?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. I'll send you the actual text or Facebook, whatever. So something cool that they're doing for any non-EXP agent that you bring, Rodney and Amanda will donate $50 to Feed the Children charity.
Wow.
So so you bring two agents in just to come network and have a couple drinks and socialize with people. Rodney and Amanda are going to donate $100. So My goal is to make them donate $500. That's my goal. I like to spend Rodney's money. And if you're watching Rodney, yeah, you know, I'll spend it. No, but it is. That's so cool that they said that. And I was like, oh wow, that's so much fun. So
Nice.
yeah, and we'll have some drinks. I'm sure there'll probably be some appetizers, little stuff that we could order, whatever. But nonetheless, it's just a great time. We're back to collaborating in person and socializing. And so we just want to get some people out there. So I'm going to put you on the spot since we're being recorded. It's going to go live to the masses. Yusra, Rami, how many people are you going to bring to the social next Wednesday?
I think I'm gonna get Rami to leave eXp Realty, and he'll be the person that I bring.
No, that's not going to happen. Yeah. We don't, yeah.
Let's say.
How many can you get? I'm going to hold you accountable.
$100 worth.
2 people.
2 people.
All
I'll
right,
match that.
Rami's in for 2. Yusra's in for 2. All right, good. Challenge. So that's your next week challenge here, you guys. So that's it. I'll let you start it up. All right. We'll see how it unfolds. I'll be if
Awesome.
if not, you both owe me 20 push-ups.
Got it.
I like that. Oh, I like that.
At the winery though, for during the social. You have to do it, yeah.
Oh,
In front of everybody, yeah.
Some entertainment.
Yeah.
Deal.
All right, deal. Awesome, guys. Well, anything else right now?
No, I think it's been a wonderful call. We went a little bit over time, but I think it was all worth it.
We did. I appreciate it. And we hit everything I had on my list. And then I wanted to help get stuff off of your list. And that's what it's all about, guys. So let's do it again next week. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. And yeah, keep killing it. You guys are rock stars. The future of real estate is right here. Let's do it, guys. Awesome. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you
welcome,
so much.
guys. Thank you. See ya.
See you.